Are you a Catholic hunter? Then Hubert is the saint for you. An incredible story. So Hubert was, he had a wife, he was a nobleman, and he had a good marriage. He had a courtly life, but he loved the woods. I mean, he would so much rather spend time in the woods and the forest in Europe. This is Belgium and France, 7th century. He'd rather be out there. But of course, he was married and had his obligations and kind of led a balanced life. He was a practicing Catholic and everything was going pretty well for him. But then his wife died in childbirth, and this rocked his world. He had a son, the son survived, but he lost his beloved wife. And so he turned his back on God, and he wasn't practicing his religion. It's Good Friday, and he decides he's going hunting. So 7th century, right? It's a bow and arrow. He's stalking a red deer, European red deer. Now, a European red deer looks like an elk. It doesn't look like the deer that we think of in the United States. They're bigger bodied and they have large antlers. So he's stalking this red deer. It's in the perfect position to take a shot. So he pulls his bow, it's broadside. He pulls his bow to release the arrow, and the stag turns his head towards Hubert. And between those magnificent antlers is suspended a glowing crucifix. Now remember, it's Good Friday. All of Christendom in the 7th century, all of Christendom is in observance of this great sacrifice that Christ made to redeem us from our worst enemy, the devil, and death. And he's out, hunting, and suddenly he's the one that's being hunted by grace. He was hunted by God because he had this mystical experience. So what does he do? I mean, he was a Christian, right? He really was. So he just wasn't practicing. So he prostrates himself on the ground, and a voice says to him, and now I don't know who the voice comes from. I don't think it came from the crucifix because of the words that are said, but I think it's likely his guardian angel. But this is what the voice said: Hubert, unless you turn to the Lord and lead a holy life, you shall quickly go down into hell. Those are sobering words. And then he was instructed to go see Bishop Lambert. So he has this conversion experience. I guess I would say reversion experience, because he had left the faith. So now he reverts back to the faith. And we don't have a lot of particular details, but he's got his son to raise, and he's has this reversion. But at some point, he ends up answering the call to the priesthood. And he does what is necessary to become a priest. And he's a very good priest. And then he becomes a bishop. And he is known for evangelization and helping people to convert. And so, the voice of experience, he had that conversion experience himself. So he is quite the evangelist. He's also into conservation of creation and good stewardship of the creation and ethical hunting practices. He still loves dogs, but he really is a hunter of souls now instead of a hunter of red deer. But that's kind of his story, but it doesn't really end there. His son then answers the call to the priesthood as well, and he also becomes a bishop and known for his holiness. And that's still not the end of the story. So when Hubert died, his body was moved to a Benedictine monastery, and they renamed the monastery the Abbey of St. Hubert. And what the monks ended up doing was they began a deliberate, one of the first known, I think the earliest first known deliberate breeding programs for hunting dogs. And they trained them, and they bred them for tracking and scent and being good companions with their owners. And they did this, and it was a practical way to support the monastery. And that is the origin of the bloodhound. This monastic tradition of raising scent hounds was passed down for generations, and it influenced dog breeding across Europe, and they were considered, the dogs and the training and the breeding of them and developing this breed was considered part of the spiritual and practical mission of the monastery. So if you are a Catholic hunter or dog owner or interested in conservationism and stewardship of creation, then Saint Hubert really is a good saint for you. His story is really one of tragedy and turning to the Lord and beautiful fruit coming from it, and fruit even in the most practical of ways through the monks of St. Hubert Abbey and the development of the bloodhound. There's just the saints, they leave their mark, and we leave ours too. If you want to get to know him more, just look him up. The pictures of him will show you pictures of St. Hubert with a lot of animals and creation, or with the stag turned and the glowing crucifix between its antlers, or maybe just with a hound and his bow and arrow. Some of those pictures are just beautiful, and you can do even more research. There are prayers for hunters before and after the hunt, and encouragement to share the meat with those less fortunate than themselves, and prayers too for your dogs, because they are creatures given to us to help us in this life, whether we are using them for hunting or companionship. Saint Hubert is just a wonderful saint to go to and to get to know. Saint Hubert, pray for us.